What's up, baby dolls? Got a UFO video here for you. Have you heard of this man named Boyd Bushman? Now, it's very interesting, friends. You're going to see at the top, he says, debunked. Not so fast. You see, Boyd Bushman, friends, actually made a deathbed confession. Okay, now here he is, deathbed confession. We're going to watch a lot of the juiciest parts of it. It goes for 32 minutes, okay? Now, Boyd, this is interesting. There's many things he shows in here, which a lot of them look, could be real. Could be real. UFOs and stuff, aliens and a lot of the tech and stuff. Now, he actually is 100% confirmed. This is not fake. He worked for Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin, they make all the UFO tech in Amerca, of course. And friends, you know, UFO tech and stuff. A lot of the theory and a lot of what's been going on is... There's been crashes. Yes, of course, there's been crashes. There's been, like, you know, on Joe Rogan's show, you hear a lot of the scientists. You've heard Bob Lazar speak about it heaps. Okay, you have George Knapp, everyone, okay, the UFO lore. However, there's two minds. Some of the crashes, there's been stories out there where they're like, you know, some of them have been accidental stuff that's happened maybe by, like, electrical stuff going on in the skies. Other side, though, some of the crashes, scientists and people have said, you know, government, deathbed people, they'd be like, well, we don't think these things crashed by us. They crashed on purpose. You might think, oh, why would they crash on purpose? It makes no sense. Yeah, it does make sense. If you saw an island of monkeys and the monkeys, you don't want to basically give them a nuclear weapon in their hands because they just blow everyone up. What you kind of do is you have to, like, nudge them in the right direction. And that's basically what they've been doing. So, friends, a lot of the examples you've seen out there will refer to, like, aliens coming from, like, out over there and all these other planets. Yeah, but a lot of them are kind of, like, interdimensional. Well, you're like, what do you mean interdimensional? Well, friends, I don't know. I'm just a peanut brain myself. But a lot of this theory comes from the fact that we all live on one plane. Okay, and obviously I'm not a physics dude, but we all live on one plane and... everything is like right here. It's just that we can't see it. And, you know, friends, there's also been reports when we started doing the nuclear bombs testing. Basically, there was a lot of messages sent to the US government going like, hey, stop that because you're kind of screwing up what's around here that you can't see yet. It's kind of beyond what you can view. So it's literally like... you can't see all the bacteria and the little ants and stuff maybe in a jungle, and you just go there and pour acid everywhere. You know what I mean? You just walk away. So you know, like, you're killing life there, but you can't see it. But now we know with the technology, oh, we can see it. You know, all the microbes and all these other stuff happening. So what I'm going to show you now, I'm going to show you the debunked part before we actually go to his, because you want to know this, because if you start by looking at it like, oh, it's fake because of this and that. No, chill out. There's a part in here he shows an alien. Okay, it looks like ET. And even when I saw it, I'm like, oh, it looks like a model. Really, it looked like a toy model to me. So if you go down, it was a model, an alien model showed in the 1990s. I want to show you something. The US government, friends, and the CIA, master at PsyOps. Master. There have been times where, for example, the Malaysia MH370 flight. I made a video on this last year, okay? The missing flight. There's like UFOs circling around it, around the flight. We've all seen it. And mysteriously, a dude appears on Reddit who says, oh, this is a fake video. And they have like a Super Nintendo game sprite, which is like where someone makes an asset inside the game to look like a bomb explosion. They overlay that bomb explosion art with the plane, and they go, oh, it's a perfect match. It wasn't a perfect match, okay? It was similar, but it wasn't a 100% perfect match. So what they do is, friends, is they get a story, and they know how human brains work. See, human brains, if there's a story, all we need is one little piece where we're like, oh, they were wrong about that, and then everything's blown up in our mind. So to discredit stuff, you just need to find one hole, and it causes doubt in the minds of everything. But technically, we shouldn't think like that, right? Because humans aren't rational. For example, if I told you a full-on story of everything that happened, and then I ended the story with, Like, you know, and then I did a handstand and, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger came and picked me up from a helicopter and we rode off to the sunset. Okay. That part of Arnold Schwarzenegger picking me up with the helicopter riding off to the sunset, yeah, that was made up, but that has nothing to do with the earlier parts. Or what if I inserted it in that story? The other stuff still happened. But you just hear that, you go, oh, that was a BS story. Look at that part. You know, that didn't believe me, because humans, we want to believe everything of that whole narrative, okay? So this narrative, this toy that was made, okay, I want to let you know the tricks that they do. The US government, friends, they will do this. There will be leaked body pictures, UFO stuff, and they know they have the pictures out here. So what they'll do is this stuff will already be out there in the world. But you and I don't know that they're modeled, the you know, like fake alien toys, Halloween stuff, movies. Movies is a very common one, friends. In movies, in Hollywood movies, it's basically, it's very common knowledge now. A lot like Steven Spielberg and a lot like UFO movies. What the CIA do, well, obviously we don't know who, friends, Men in Black come and approach them. They guide the writing of the movie to basically show us a side of aliens that they want us to see, where it works in a certain way or it kind of desensitizes us. Because what they're doing is, friends, they're kind of grooming us into this slowly over time. Because they don't know if they just appeared out of nowhere, or like, and they're like speaking telepathically, your brain basically pretty much implodes. It like goes to mush. You're like, I didn't even know any of this was happening. It was possible, you know? So a lot of these things just take steps, and it's very obvious. Friends, if you watch all of the material out there, you're like, oh, okay, I see what's happening. If you watch one, you're like, nah, an alien, piece of pie here and there. But with the power of the internet, we've been able to see this deeper, spooky stuff. It's not really spooky. It's kind of when you first see it, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on with aliens. But it's starting to make sense slowly. So what I'm going to do now, friends, is show you. So there's a lot of... What Boyd here will do, Mr. Boyd Bushman, what he'll do is he shows a lot of pictures where he's like showing the UFOs and stuff, but there's a lot of the craft. As you can see, he's got photos up here, more photos. Unfortunately, they're blurry, you know, but this is from ages ago. Remember, Mr. Boyd Bushman, this is the deathbed confession. He passed away in 2014, and he did confirm to come from Lockheed Martin, so he worked there, but we're in two minds, so we don't know. Okay, he has these photos. You know, some of them are real, or all of them. But could be what they do, friends, is the government, part of the program, they will insert fake material to certain people's files. So if you went and leaked it out, they can call you a crazy person. That's what they do to discredit it. It's kind of like their hedge. So no one ever has the full story. And if you listen to Bob Lazar when it was on Joe Rogan, right? You can see it right here. One of the big Bob Lazar's, a very, very famous episode. Bob Lazar, Joe Rogan. So Bob Lazar's story, very famous. He basically got a sheet. He got a sheet and the government's like pretty much saying, hey, you got to work on reverse engineering all this craft and stuff and all the materials about how the UFO kind of stuff works. Because, friends, remember, it's a race against time. It's kind of like, okay, America, China, Russia, they all know, all right, it's possible to do anti-gravity. It is possible now. We just got to figure it out. Because, friends, whoever solves this, you basically win the game. You get a ship, you go into any city, no one can take you down. Okay, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? We're like, uh-oh, we haven't evolved fast enough to deal with this because everyone's still like, you know, fighting over these borders. So that introduces a lot of interesting things because Bob Lazar, when he's given this sheet of like, okay, we're trying to engineer stuff, he had to work on the stuff, and, you know, everyone's always trying to discredit the story, he's telling the truth or he's not. Look, I'll tell you something now, friends. I've watched all the UFO stuff, okay? And this stuff, from ancient biblical texts to random people in countries to young kids, you put all of this stuff together, you go, you know what? You know a lot of them are true. You just don't know, is it this one? Is it that one? You see all the common similarities and you're like, okay, there's a common theme here. There's a really big common theme, a real common theme. Also interesting with Bob Lazar's story is when he remembers reading a sheet and it kind of like summarized the program up to that point. This was back like in the 70s or the 80s. And it included stuff like, hey, human DNA has been altered, been altered a number of times. One of the main dudes UFOs we talked to, they're like from light years away. And they made us, kinda, or did they? Kind of stuff thrown in. But he even explains to Joe Rogan, he goes, look, he doesn't know if all of that, what he read, was completely false, or half of it was false, or a bit of it was false. Because if he ever leaked out information about that, they always go to the media and they go, oh, this guy thinks like aliens, bait. It's like spooky. Look at this guy. This guy's a nutcase. So that's a type of discrediting and pre-planning and hedging, if you will, that the government does, okay? So this is Boyd. I'm going to show you more of the pictures he goes through here. He shows different UFO lights. It's very, very common. What ends up happening is you just end up seeing, okay, UFOs, friends. So I know a lot of you are like, whoa, how do they move? My physics teacher told me it wasn't possible. Get with the times, friends. I was told it wasn't possible too. So how they move is, I don't know what's going on, friends. I'm wearing a Pokemon hat on the internet. But they don't move. You see, what they do is there's a field of space in front of you, and they have whatever material they're using, and it pulls forward. So it's not actually moving. What's actually happening is it pulls the ground closer, and it's falling constantly. So that's why when you see UFOs, they don't actually fly sideways when they go full speed. They go to their belly, and they shoot up. So basically, when they're shooting up that belly, you can actually see, right, on the diagrams, right here, it looks like a heart. You see this is the belly part. And you see this gravitational field. So that's pretty much what it looks like if you're curious, fans. Now, it's actually interesting. Look at all these sketches out here. This is where he's drawn. Like heaps of other people have drawn it, friends. Like a lot of people. Just to let you know, another thing, right? Because obviously I was curious. I was like, wait a minute. I've seen like 20 different alien shapes and like 20 different UFO ships. And you kind of realize, oh, there's like a shitload of yous, aren't there? And what's actually more crazy, this is the crazy part, friends. A lot of you grew up watching like sci-fi movies and like, there's alien movies. You play like a video game, they'll throw like aliens in there. I used to play them too as a kid. I was never interested because I was like, man, this is not real. I don't like it. I always liked the like middle-aged stuff. Turns out, these are actually real sketches from people who have been abducted over time. By the way, I remember this one. You see this one in the middle? This one, I think, was in Russia, friends. I know this one. I know this story. This one, friends, you're not going to believe it. These tall ones, okay? This is crazy. In the middle of Russia, this is like still documented. I'm sure it's somewhere in Russia, like Siberia. Literally, this UFO lands, and then like this, I think it was 2 robot type of like, from Star Wars, R2-D2, little R2-D2. They like roll out. And like one of them is this giant dude in a suit. And yeah, it's funny, man. This is literally in Russia. It happened in a Russian village, and like everyone spoke about it. They're like, oh yeah, this weird thing kind of happened. Like, aliens landed out. They walked out, and they had like a bubble on the head. It's just crazy, right? Now, all these other ones, kind of funny. Is this looks like a weird land wolf type of guy here? It's funny. Now, I know. You're like, what the hell is going on? I'm just telling you, man. This stuff. When you see one story, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. But when you see 4,800 stories, you're like, okay, something's going on here, okay? Looking at these UFOs, what he's showing here is just light. He has 3 UFOs here. So a lot of people are always wondering, and trust me too, you're like, hey man, why are we filming this from a 1992 camera potato? We have HD images. I still see those same images today. Well, here's the thing, friends. When you're like a million years ahead of technology, you've got stuff that we don't got. Okay, just like if I teleported you and me back to the year like 400, we go to like Middle England, okay, and you show them an iPhone, and me and you are talking to each other across a field, they literally think you're freaking God, because you're like, oh my gosh, they're communicating from across the field. How do they do that, right? Well, one of the things they can do is, from all the stories and stuff you get to see, is from our perspective, when we see into them, they're bending light. So you can't see them. You can't even record them. And if you do, it's basically they can only show you when they want to when they want to be seen. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Now, a lot of the things get more fuzzy. Why? Because their technology is like so advanced, it breaks a lot of things. Because a lot of people, friends, who have abductee stories, there's been many stories where there's like husband and a wife, and the husband has no memories of what happened last night, but the wife does. You know, like not all her memories were wiped. And she was like, oh yeah, we both went into the ship and then this happened and the husband was there and he doesn't remember anything, you know, and there's a lot of things happening. There's been, by the way, there's been many stories of people finding like discoveries or leaks or stuff and memories get wiped. Okay, so this is interesting, right? Because I remember as a kid from Men in Black, the movie, there's like this little rod, kind of looks like an object, if you know what I mean, okay? This silver long rod. And it's just like meant to be a memory wiper. And I remember watching it as a kid going, that's the dumbest thing. I wasn't even interested. I was like so young. Now I realize, oh my gosh, that's actually a real thing. That's where they get it from. By the way, friends, I'm not joking. It's really common knowledge that to desensitize us, the population, as to like what's going on out there, just they throw pebbles out, right? They put this in Hollywood movies. So we're exposed to it, all right? And, you know, there's been one of the CIA government guys. I mean, I'll use a general term because there's all these names and all these people, friends. They all look like just general white dudes who just got into office, got into the position. They end up passing away because they only talk about this stuff in their final few years because they can't talk about it before because like, oh, well, they're going to kill me and my family. Okay, so that's why when you come across someone like Bush Boyd, ends up passing away, you're like, wait a minute, what do you have to lose? You had your whole life. You worked at Lockheed Martin. By the way, friends, just to show you his credibility, on Twitter notes, look at this if you go down. At the time of his retirement in 2000, Bushman had 28 patents in his name, many of which contained classified technologies. So, I mean, the dude's legit, like, get 28 technologies. That's crazy. Boyd Bushman was a retired senior researcher who worked for Lockheed Martin, Skunk Works, Texas Instruments, and Hughes Aircraft. So, Skunk Works, friend, that's what you're going to see that. So, if you are, friends, I don't know, like some of you in America, look, you probably have, without even knowing, like an uncle or a cousin who knows someone who's actually working in one of these top secret stuff. They're just not allowed to tell anyone, otherwise they get disappeared. And a lot of the times what we've heard is at their desks where they're doing the research stuff, they'll just get like a material put in. They're not told what it is. Just like, hey, figure this stuff out. Something weird with this thing. We found this thing. Anyway, tell anybody, we'll kill ya. And so they end up just finding stuff like superconductive properties, things that have like powerful magnets. They're just basically trying to make super fast weapons tech, but nobody is given the full picture. That's a common theme. It's all compartmentalized. So everything is like small, so nobody can come out and blow the lead off. And, you know, is it like, that's why there's always two minds. Is it because of China and Russia enemies, or is it because humans aren't ready? Humans, what is going on here? There's a lot of things, but it's also funny. You go down here, Boyd Bushman claims and pictures are exposed as a hoax. It actually wasn't exposed as a hoax. That's the funny part. I read that first part. I'm like, oh, what a waste of time. But then I end up doing digging. I'm like, well, no, wait a minute. Did you see the other stuff in here? Which I'm going to show you right now. Now, he has this alien picture in here, friends. Okay, this is from a 1990s doll. But it is possible, like I said, that this is one of the pictures. Okay, I'll show you who go through them. It's possible, man. He has 30 files. And what they'll do is they'll give you like a couple of like fake ones. That's their hedge. Just in case you go out to the public, we have something to get you on and for everyone to walk away. So if we continue down, right, this is where he's showing the UFO stuff. There's many pictures. I'm actually surprised by how many pictures. Now, interesting, right, there's some of these photos, friends, and it's hard to see. If you watch the whole video, I'll link them for you. He's got pictures of what the aliens see when they're looking at Earth. Like, pictures out there. Now, I forgot the context, how they were able to get that, but there's actually some really fascinating stuff. Now, you're thinking like, oh, wow, just a blurry picture. Basically, what he says is when they, this is interesting, right, 2010 stuff, when they are charging up to actually go to move distances, it becomes blurry. And see, if you hear that before, you're like, what does that mean? But after, like, you listen to Bob Lazar and all these other people put the theories out, like, oh, that makes sense. If you are moving forward by just pulling space in front of you, well, you're just warping what everything sees. And that's why whenever we see UFO stuff, they always look like a potato. Or it looks like a weird artifact, like moving in the middle of the sky and just disappears. It's just because our brains can't comprehend what's going on. And, you know, it could be like a couple of million years in front of us. Now, here's one of the pictures where he shows the aliens, like looking like ET. But as I just explained to you, friends, this could very well be just a difference of like, it could just be like a very, very bad implementation from the CIA to try, like, you know, discredit stuff. Here he has showing a suit. So he goes through many pictures, them showing their hands. There's 5 fingers here. Actually, just interesting enough, from everything I've seen, I mean, just go watch it anyway. A lot of them have 4 fingers and hands. That's why when I saw 5, I was like, that's weird. I've never seen these 4, 5 one. But it's kind of funny. You see that you pick up on these patterns and you're like, wow, the patterns on stuff we don't even know exists. That's the crazy part. Now, what I'm going to show you is he's got some science experiments here, which they actually have the material. Okay, let him speak here.
How? They kept giving me things to, rather than, they would give me pieces of UFOs and I would come to my laboratories. I had the laboratories of Lockheed and every place else. So I would do that, but I would get pieces of UFOs. For example, I have 3 little pieces of UFOs down underneath the thing that looks like a quartz crystal. Notice that that is my hand, and it is giving weight. It says that it weighs 100 grams. Now, without those 3 items, when I take the UFO material away, notice that the 3 UFO items are gone. But also notice that the weight of the crystal is now 650 grams.
Wow.
The implication here is that if I were to take the pieces of UFO and put them underneath an average man's scale, he would weigh 45 pounds. Basically, they're working in anti-gravity, and therefore our effort is anti-gravity. Now, not only...
So you can see, friends, he's showing an experiment. It's funny, you know, the debunking, they don't talk about any of this part. It's just always, they just throw out that obvious alien one, which I'll show you again, which just shows you like bodies and stuff here and there of their bodies. Now remember, like I said, it's a very common CIA thing because everyone's a pawn. Everyone's being used. Not one person has the full story. There's clearly a group of insiders out there who know the full story. Friends, you got to remember, like, once you open your mind to this being possible, anything's possible. You're like, I don't know, maybe the president really is a lizard dude. I don't know, you know, all this other stuff is possible. But you got to go through life knowing that, 1, it's outside of your control. But 2, I know, friends, I'm a crypto channel. And I'll tell you what, I really do mean this, friends. A lot of this it feels like a full simulation show. There's these beginnings and these stories and these ends. And then we're like, oh, here comes the 5th right in my neck coming in. You know, all this stuff appearing side by side. We can still win and make something really good of it. But it's pretty obvious what happens because we're in crypto, friends. We're in like this wild, wild west part. And we can see the jail of the traditional financial system. And you can see like, okay, you guys want to control everybody. You got to control what they spend because money's power. And that's basically like freedom of speech. So they're doing stuff like, okay, you have the CBDC and you're going to have your stimulus here. We're going to manipulate the interest rates. And you just see the world's moving to a way where they're pretty much trying to keep domesticating us. And you can actually notice, right, friends, when it comes to these, more and more, we're just seeing this pathway that we're going on to. Now, a lot of people think it's dystopian, right? I don't think it's really dystopian. I think maybe this is the plan all along. It's very interesting to think about because I don't know if you guys notice, friends, you can actually see charts. The average human male's testosterone level has been dropping for 100 years. And they don't know the right specific cause. But I'm just telling you right now, friends, if you were a zookeeper and you had a bunch of monkeys on a planet, wouldn't you try this like, hey, first we kind of got to like drop their testosterone levels so they stop like fighting with each other over territory over like a couple of 100 years, number 1. Number 2, throw some technology out here so the little monkeys, humans, try to figure out what's going on. But we can't give them too much because they just zap everybody and zap themselves out of existence, right? See this stuff coming. Also, number 3, wouldn't you do stuff like, hey, their brains can't handle multiple dimensions, breaking physics, anti-gravity, the fact that their DNA might have been made from someone else, the fact that it makes them question everything about life and stuff. Their brains can't handle it. So can we just like throw movies here and there where there's a bit of truth about the reality of the situation? Just here and there, movies. Like, you know, one every 1,000 movies. Just like over time, you know. Once you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, friends, you're like, oh, I see what's going on. So there's no need to really like lose your mind over it, but it is fascinating just to see that. Now look at this part, friends. It's also got something that's going to conduct electricity. Watch.
Items, and I go to a standard voltmeter, and notice that in my voltmeter, I am getting a total voltage of 249 volts out of one rock.
Oh.
One piece of UFO. Not only that, but the team took a piece of UFO and connected it up like this and was able to have a complete laboratory operate for 6 months with heavy equipment. And it goes all the way up to 12 amperes. And since you didn't really get this before, here's the foot with the toes joined together.
So as you can see, friends, it could be the model, right? They're doing like this foot, this alien stuff as well. But I'm going to show you this next part too, where he actually shows this is more of the alien model part, right? So that could have been like a fake model. And here he has more of these pictures showing out here. He's got an enormous amount of files here, right? But watch this next part. He actually has stuff that's floating here.
Here's an egg-like thing, but it's standing on end only because it has no gravity itself, and that is a piece of UFO germanium. And this little dot is a piece of neodymium magnet, which is above the germanium, and it's floating all by itself.
Look at that up here. Look, there's an actual picture here. See this little dot? If you can zoom in, friends, that's it. That's the floating.
And that again is a UFO. And we don't know why, but...
So, kind of crazy stuff. Crazy? Friends, I'll tell you, you watch one of these, you're like, oh, probably real. But then you come across John McMoneagle, okay? Now, this is where, friends,
podcast.
This is where everything starts to get trippy. Friends, if you've been watching this channel, remote viewing. All right. When I saw this, I was like, there's no way this is real. There's no way. Anyway. But this thing goes for 6 hours. This 6 hours will change your life. Yeah, 6 hours. So the most fascinating thing about John, right? This is John McMoneagle. He's literally like an American saint at this point. All right. John, friends, you can read up all about him. CIA. He is the American psychic for the US Army, right? Was. And do you want to know how they found him? This is actually the craziest part. So, because they had this UFO stuff appearing, you know, World War II, UFO stuff, again with the bombs, I don't refer to World War II, we're like blowing stuff up. They knew, okay, well, when aliens talk, they're not speaking in English. It's telekinesis. So people are hearing voices in their head, and it's hearing in their own voice. So now they basically everyone's been exposed. Oh my gosh, we can do that. So now that we know we can do that, they start to try to explore. Okay, how can we like take advantage of this? And I was like, how do we kill each other using it? Right? It's kind of funny. So what they end up doing is doing more experimentation, and they end up finding out that guess what? There are certain just parts of the population who are more susceptible to being able to receive these informations. If you want to know how much, friends, it's about 1 in 100. All right? About 1 in 100 of us have a slightly enlarged, I don't know, maybe a pineal gland, one of them just in a certain shape in our brains where 1 in 100 of us have more UFO experiences than the average person. Now, I've never seen any of these. I've never seen anything out there, but 1 in 100 do. And I think 1 in 100 people, if they mate with someone else, a male and female, you have like 1 in 1,000, and you got a certain genetic advantage from everyone else. Now, guess what? John's one of them. Okay, pretty sure John's one of them. I don't know if it's been confirmed, but you can pretty much tell when I tell you the story. John has found missing people using his brain. Okay, pretty much using remote viewing. You guys should read up about remote. How does this work? There's literally, you focus about an image. There's famous stuff that he's drawn, which will blow your mind. You're not going to believe me. You could read this up. So I think it was Russia. So the US government said to him, they didn't even give him the subject. They pretty much told him, look, we think Russia is building like a weapon stuff. All right. I think they told him to him like that. Can't recite it properly. Anyway, they give him like a piece of envelope and a piece of paper. He draws exactly where it is. And it's a bird's eye picture. Now, I don't know if this was exactly it, but he ends up drawing, I don't know if this is one of the pictures. He ends up drawing an underground, never before seen submarine, right? It's something along the lines of that. That's actually carrying the nuclear warhead. And it's so never before seen, they didn't even know you could put nukes on the water to do that. So he was one of the guys able to draw that. And interesting, right? The most fascinating part, me friends, 6 hours. There's a lot of stories that he's done. How they found him is going to give you goosebumps. He was in the US Army, Vietnam. And he was a frontline soldier. And there's a certain survival rate when you're in the front line. And the US Army knows it. Now, where he was, I think it was something like, there's like literally only like a 68% survival rate. You're at the front line, your first responder, okay, over like a 1 year period, 68% of you come back. They noticed after something like 8 years or something stupid, right? I don't know how long, but John kept coming back. And it's on the records, but no one ever thought anything of it. They just think, oh, well, this guy's pretty lucky, right? But then when the CIA or whoever's in charge of doing this remote viewing, like let's try find psychics, because that's what they want to do, friends. They found out, okay, we can talk telepathically. How can we find out? How do we even test? How do we find people who are even capable of this? And without, like, how we can't go to the population and go, hello, anybody who's psychic out there? You know, no one knows what's going on. So they look within the US Army. They went to basically the stats, and they're like, okay, this genius whoever thought of this, right? They said, find the guys who should be dead but aren't. They found John. Okay, John should have been dead after all the missions he went on. Basically, he went on suicide missions, and the guy came back. So basically, what was happening, friends, is when he goes out, for some reason, his brain is just interpreting time a bit differently. It's doing something where he just knows shouldn't go there. You know, that's a bad outcome. He just knows, okay, don't check behind there. It's probably grenades. And he probably doesn't know exactly what it is. I don't know if it's that clear, but something's telling him just don't go there, man. Just don't go there. Okay, so on average, he ends up surviving. And he becomes the US Army psychic. So he has some very famous drawings. He's found missing persons. Okay, he was literally the Army psychic to do that. And it's kind of funny we even know about it now. Friends, there's probably ones that they have right now that we're not allowed to know. We only know about John probably because it's like 30 years old. They're like, we got better guys now. You know what I mean? So they're probably happening right now. It's also been 100% confirmed, not even joking. Certain schools in America, yeah, Men in Black type of like army guys have just rocked up the schools and just tried to interview kids. This is like 100% confirmed. So you watch documentaries and stuff, and you know what they're doing. They're pretty much, they're trying to find which one of these kids is that like 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 who is gifted with this like enlarged like pineal gland, who is more susceptible to being able to help with this like, you know, clairvoyance, if you will. Now, here's the thing. His win rate isn't 100%, but it's actually pretty good. I think his win rate was like 25%. But you think, oh, that sounds great, friends. Literally, I'm telling you, hey, where is this missing person? And you've got a 25% chance of telling me. Like, think about all the possibilities in the world, right? So he had a very, very good idea of where things are, and it's amazing, his story. So once you see John, right? So you see John, you see him out here. Okay, 6-hour interview, by the way. He's done others, but this is just crazy. Like, so many stories, all right? So many stories. You see someone like John, Army, right? Army psychic. And then I'm showing you like Boyd Bushman, and you're seeing a floating thing here. And then you see Bob Lazar appear, and he's saying, hey, I worked on Area 51, and we actually have anti-gravity tech. We're just trying to reverse engineer him. There's also, I think in here, friends, Boyd Bushman says This was 2009. He actually knew. He said there's 39 people who died as scientists reverse engineering stuff, which is fascinating because Bob said, yeah, apparently there was like someone who died back in the 80s as well. It makes sense, man. You're dealing with stuff that blows up in 2 seconds. Like it could just blow up. You don't know what's going on. So also interesting, in this interview, Boyd Bushman, before he dies, he says it was basically one mission and it was UFO and they sent fighter pilots towards it and they got too close. And then he said that the UFO defended itself. It just zapped everyone. All the army pilots died. What's interesting, friends, I made a video last year. I was going to make this one as well. I made a video about there was someone in USA. I actually have the GPS coordinates where they basically, there's a lab where they're keeping the biogenetics, which is another word for UFO bodies, right? DNA and stuff. Similar to that, there was somebody who made a leak. And we don't know, man. It's actually a fantastical story. I was going to make a full video about it, but it was just, I remember it was September, shitty bear market stuff for crypto. We went down. There's basically these stories in there where they were like, look, US government, they're like, no, there's like, we're not allowed to say any names or anything, but they have ships here. We're not allowed to approach too close because there's been some stuff that's happened that we can't really speak too much about, but people have gone and they're not come back. And the person telling the story like, yeah, I kind of feel sorry because these people just thought they were investigating something, but the US Army just sends them somewhere to go test it out. You know what I mean? So you see, friends, you see these stories over and over and over and over and again. You see one, you're like, yeah, throw it out. But then you see all of these, bang, 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 bang. This was always known for like 10 to 20 years, but now we have the power of YouTube and the internet to put all of these together. And now you get to see, there's no way all of these were made up. No way in hell. You're telling me all these people, all these stories over 100 plus years, stuff that matches with biblical times, all of these, like where does it all lead to? The answer is, I don't know. But it helps you see the light when it comes to pre-programmed crypto FUD. All right, it really does. Because if this stuff is going on, friends, nothing that's going to happen to us is going to be irreversible, unrecoverable, the end of times. It's not, man. Look at the stuff that's out there. Lockheed Martin, Skunk Works, they've already got anti-gravity tech and stuff. They're just feeding it out to the public, okay? I don't know if you guys know as well, but it's common knowledge now, pretty much common knowledge. The internet you and I are speaking through, fiber optics, came from UFO tech. Night vision goggles, you know, night vision to see through, also UFOs, friends. So there's been people who recovered like ships and stuff and they've left like US Army stuff. So a lot of these stories you hear, they're not from the exact soldiers who recover a downed UFO. You never hear those stories if you go to interviews. What the stories you hear about is you hear of another army base, right? They are in like Peru, South America, somewhere around in Middle East. They're around there. And then one of their guys will report, hey, there's some ship over there that's kind of downed up. And then America sends the classic black helicopter. And then guys in black suits, they come out and they always threaten everybody. They go, hey, if you say anything, we'll kick you out of a helicopter. You never see the end of the day. So they basically just threaten everybody. Okay, this is stuff that's going with private military and things going around. So all this stuff is happening right under everyone's noses. And there's nothing you and I can do about it. I'm just telling you it's happening, whether we like it or not. But it does give you a bit of solace, which is like a bit of like, you're a bit consoled now. You're a bit like, it's okay. Because it seems like a lot of these, it really is just a movie show. It was just a movie show. It's playing and it's going across. And this is the type of stuff, in my spare time, I'm like, well, if this stuff is possible, all right, that's why, friends, looking at like a CBDC, and then you're looking at interest rates, and you're looking at, oh, what's the government going to do, and this presidential election, and what's going on. It's all a bunch of BS, man. It's all a bunch, okay, what are they trying to put on the movie today? That's how I'm viewing it. So I hope today, friends, you know, we've taken a bit of a different turn, but I love this stuff. This is what I do in bear market stuff. I love figuring out this stuff. This is the marginal things. This is like, hey, the stuff we don't know. And you never know, man. Maybe look back in the future and everyone will say, oh, they had it under their noses the whole time. They just couldn't figure it out. So don't forget, who loves you. Make sure you like, subscribe, bell button, and I'll catch you soon.